What's up, everyone? Thralls Metal here once again. I'm Necrotic Nick.
I'm Jammin John.
And we have an album review for you. This is one that I've been waiting for ever since getting into this band. I am talking about the newest album from Fulci, Exhumed Information. This comes out on the 25th of July on Time to Kill Records. This band formed in 2013 in Italy. This is their third full length, and if you can't guess it by the name and the themes, this band is entirely themed after one amazing director. I'm talking about Steven Spielberg. I'm not. Lucio Fulci. E.T., except, you know, he's getting a drill through the skull and his brains are shooting out the other side.
Ugh.
Yeah, no, they left that scene out.
Getting acid poured on his face and spiders crawl out.
Puking up his innards in a car and then getting his brain squeezed out of the back. Fulci's a lot of fun. I really think he should have directed E.T.
Yes, that would have been something else.
Now, each one of their albums has been themed after a particular movie. The first one was Gates of Hell. The most recent one, Tropical Sun, was themed after Zombie. This one, I think they went a little bit more obscure. I think this is themed after Voices from Beyond, which came out in 1994, which was towards the end of, well, Fulci's life.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit more obscure. I kind of thought they would go for House by the Cemetery, but yeah, save that for the next album. But these guys play the most groove-laden, riff-tastic version of brutal death metal I have heard here recently. Pretty much take all of that Cannibal Corpse, Dying Fetus style sort of riffage, but layer it with like Obituary and Bolt Thrower groove, and then just riff away. That is their style, for the most part. Now, before you get to their style, you have to get through an interesting opening, Autopsy. In terms of interludes that I have heard here recently, in terms of splicing different stuff together, dude, what the fuck?
Yeah, yet another one you don't want to listen to in the dark. Creepy nursery room sounds, maybe?
And a play-by-play of an autopsy.
And what sounded like the Munchkins from Wizard of Oz chanting.
It's whimsical.
Really weird.
It's wonderful. I'm fucking kidding. It's kind of terrifying, actually, but I think that's kind of the idea they were going for. But the thing these guys do with atmosphere in terms of, like, making sure you know they're all about horror, they do a great job. Now, this goes right into the opening track, Voices, which, bam.
Gets right to it. There is no waste. Nasty, gritty, brutal death metal.
Hooks aplenty, though. That's the thing that always shocks me about these guys. It's brutal as hell. I mean, you know, you're up there with tons of different brutal death metal bands in terms of just raw heaviness, but these guys know how to create really catchy riffs. Those old school Cannibal Corpse tags on the ends of the riffs. And surprisingly, this has like some really interesting lead melody on here.
And you're going to find that a lot throughout this album. Yeah. Actually, my favorite part of this song was when they hit that nasty like incantation breakdown.
Comes out of nowhere. Like, they really aren't known for doing like the big death doomy breakdown, but this slows it down to almost a crawl. It's still a very groovy crawl, and believe me, you can do this throughout most of the album.
Yeah, if you don't bang your head, there's something wrong.
Something wrong. But yeah, then they switch it back up to their nice groovy, you know, section, but really cool. And the solo on here, I couldn't figure out if it was synths or an actual like guitar in there. I think it's a mix of two.
I think it is too.
But generally, their atmosphere comes from the samples and the synths they splice in between. This actually kind of brings it with the music, which is a little bit different for them. And honestly, in terms of like the most different thing, at least on this first half of this album, is the song Funeral, which opens up with cynic vocals. But it kind of isn't a cynic song. Actually, it's not a cynic song at all. It's completely their song, but the riff is kind of different.
Reminded me more of the Faceless off of An Autopsy, actually, oddly enough. Those alien voices. And then really ambient, kind of dissonant melodies over this kind of sick drum groove.
Again, not something that Fulci is known for. You know, Fulci, much like the director, is not known for subtlety. It's hammering riffs, big chuggathons, and believe me, there's plenty on here. Nightmare and Evil and Tomb all deliver that. But this song Funeral is just a little bit different. Like, again, this riff is a little bit more dissonant. It's a different kind of melody for him.
But it's also really straightforward.
Yeah.
At least this song is. It's nothing more than just kind of a driving drum groove. But it's the ambient melodies that really set this tune off.
And then Nightmare and Tomb in particular just bring some of the most crushing riffs. Triplet chugs aplenty, but again, they know how to make it catchy. It doesn't feel like repetitive to the point like, well, I've heard this before. It's that kind of fun repetitive. It's like, yeah, you can drone on that all day.
Yep,
I'm gonna bang my head.
Well, yeah, because Nightmare has more of like a stomp to it the whole time. It's got, it kind of reminds me of Gatecreeper, actually.
Frozen Soul.
Yep,
Frozen Soul has that kind of groove too.
I think the guitars could stand to come up a little bit in the mix, though. Just a little bit, because that cannon snare just knocks out everything.
Well, you know, their drummer kind of has one gear, and it's kind of because it's programmed. This is a drum machine, of course. You know, it's Fulci. They like the drum machine thing. They don't really hide it, but they hide it better than, say, Mortician. But I think they kind of still have that similar ethos. Like, yeah, we love horror movies, and we love stupid, heavy death metal, and why not combine the two? Perfect marriage, really. Now,
the way that the song goes out to Nightmare, the vocals are actually growled in the end, and then it cuts to like an all-male choir. They know how to bring the creepy atmosphere, as is Fulci.
They slowed it down, too.
Yep.
Like, you can tell they kind of just slowed down that tape and like, yeah, let's have them sing a little bit deeper. And then Tomb closes out with flies and sticky, gooey things.
Yeah, that's what it sounded like. It sounded like bees and stickiness.
Yeah. I mean, it's weird that I was trying to think of, like, oh, what Fulci movie is that from? Oh, yeah, most of them. You know, it's just a gross sound effect, but again, it fits with the atmosphere. And vocally, this is a brutal death metal band that I don't mind at all because they don't labor pig growls or anything like that.
Correct.
It's all very deep, guttural vocals. You can tell that there's, you know, stuff being said. It's not just, you know, kind of faking it. I don't think all brutal death metal bands do that, but I think some of them do. But this first half, and we're going to have to get to the second half because it takes such an interesting twist, is absolutely brutal as hell. And then we shift to the second half. The last 4 tracks in here could not be any more different than the first 6.
Let's just say it goes from brutal death metal, it goes from like Suffocation to Genghis Khan.
Genghis Khan at their darkest. I think they went from worshiping at the altar of Fulci and celebrating his movie catalog through brutal death metal to literally scoring a Fulci movie. This takes a hard shift to synths. Dark horror synths, layered atmosphere. The guitars really take like a back step in here. Like, actually, there are clean guitars in here, which is strange. And it's all about the atmosphere in this. Like, that it is the main thing. Glass, Child, Phantasma, and Cemetery. These songs are designed to creep you out in a different way.
The song I really liked was the last track, Cemetery. And again, it's all synth.
Yep.
But this one just kind of reminded me of like a late 70s, early 80s score to a movie. Put this on in headphones, maybe walk through a cemetery, maybe wear a jean jacket.
Maybe get, you know, attacked by sticky, gooey people that came out of the ground.
But they really labor the somber kind of creepy melody again in here. The snare sample that they use sounds like Phil Collins' snare in The Air Tonight.
With these last 4 tracks, I was like literally kind of like thinking like visually with this. Like, these songs would match up with scenes, and the way they're constructed, they're sort of built to a height and then come back down. It doesn't have like the, you know, dynamics of the death metal stuff. Child, the longest song I believe they've ever written, it's almost 6 minutes long, is this big slow build into like layered synths and clean guitars at the end, but the whole mood of it is, I don't know, like mysterious, like you're navigating some old abandoned house that was built over an Indian burial ground so many years ago. Boo, gotcha. But it has a really cool feel to it. I don't know, it kind of like almost transports you to whatever movie that these guys should have scored back in 1979.
Yeah.
It's very strange, but it takes such a hard turn, and it comes without really any warning. Like, you don't really think it's going to take a hard turn to this, because this is almost so different, it feels like two different bands.
Yeah. Yep.
The only metal-ish moment on this back half is in Phantasma, where the guitars come in, and there are some heavy guitars again, and it takes this almost Funeral Doom, except a little bit more up-tempo, but the feel is there. Like, you have organs, heavy droning guitars, they're like droning single chords, and you get some like dissonant cleans in there.
And well, then you get some kind of like epic melodies towards the end.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Like, you get some harmonies on here that are really cool, just in terms of like, you know, death metal harmonies. But these are very different. I don't know. Like, again, it feels like we listened to two different bands back to back, and
or we listened to a band and then watched a movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. A short film.
Right.
But short and creepy. Involved a guy in a jean jacket in a cemetery.
Stickiness.
And stickiness. But yeah, this is kind of what I expected and not what I expected at the same time. So, I don't know. This is a strange album, and I'm going to have to listen to it and digest it more. But overall, I'm going to give it 4 stars. I enjoyed both sides of this, though I think I enjoyed the death metal side a little bit more.
I mean,
it's kind of natural. But I like the dark synth stuff. And I like the completely different approach to songwriting and atmosphere and everything. Like, you get these little pockmark moments on their albums. Like, it's generally like a little interlude here. Like, ooh, creepy synths, sticky things in the background, a grunt, a growl, someone getting eaten. This kind of forgoes just the little sample and is like, no, we can stretch this out and kind of, you know, build this whole mood up. And they do a good job, but I still think their strength is on fucking death metal riffs.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. You know, when this album is going on that death metal side, it is a groove machine, and it will just beat the shit out of you. Stay out of that pit. That pit will hurt you. It's probably full of zombies, and they're sticky. So, yeah, 4 stars. This is a really good album. It is a really interesting album, and I am very curious as to where this band is going to go in terms of their sound now, because there's a clear evolution from album to album now. So, yeah, definitely get this one. I already pre-ordered it.
Also 4 stars. I had a really good time. And I knew, you know, getting into this kind of what I was going to be hearing, although I didn't expect the back half. But that contrast between brutal death and between, again, like watching an 80s horror movie, that's a neat contrast to put all on one album. There's so much going on in that front half, riff after riff after riff. It's, again, impossible not to bang your head. And the atmospheres that they create are really pretty creepy. And I think without that atmosphere, I think it would be a whole different listen. I don't think it would be as heavy as what it sounded like without that atmosphere. The back half, certainly, I kind of want to jam that on the... I live way out in the country now, so I kind of want to jam that on the way home.
There'll be a fog rolling in.
Right, there's going to be a fog rolling in, and there's going to be somebody walking across from a field. You know, I had a good time. It was a good listen.
It's a great time to pick up a hitchhiker, I'm sure. You should just do it. Pick up 2.
Right at that roundabout there on 199.
There you go.
It's going to be great. I'm not going to pick up a hitchhiker, but you should definitely pick up this record. Like it, jam it, love it, buy a shirt. You know, all the fun stuff included with death metal.
Yes. So, if you enjoyed this review, give it a thumbs up. If you are new to the channel, subscribe, because we do stuff like this all the time. We are also on Patreon. We have not put up much here lately. We've been kind of busy, you know, people moving. There's going to be more people moving here soon.
Yeah.
So we're going to get back to that, and we're going to like throw on some fun stuff from a little trip we're taking here in a bit. But more on that later.
Yep.
And we still have shirts available. We're pretty much down to, again, extra large, large, and double X. But if you still want one and you fit any of those sizes, or know someone that does, hit us up on thrallsofmetal@gmail.com. Send us a message, throw shirts in the subject matter, and we will get back to you, get your information, and get you a shirt.
And if you're bigger or smaller than those sizes, there is more coming.
Yeah, we're
soon.
working on getting some more stuff. We're trying to sell off what we have just because it's easier to get like a bulk deal. Plus, we're also looking at getting some other stuff too with our big dumb name on it. So, yeah, more stuff coming soon. And with that, we thank you for watching, and we will catch you later.